And of course, I have the one and only, the beloved, the legend, Mr. Nick Matthews here with us in the house. And today we actually are going to interview Nick for a powerful, powerful, powerful personal breakthrough practice that I had the honor to actually do in person with Nick. And he's writing about it and sharing it with the world. And I wanted to dig deep into his brain and ask the questions that I asked when I was learning about all of this powerful work. So then everybody else get to benefit from this. So without further ado, let's give Mr. Nick Matthews the big welcome that he deserves. Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Hi, Zane. Doing great, thanks. I hope everyone else is, despite this lockdown. I don't know what I'm more afraid of, whether the lockdown is going to stay or whether the lockdown is going to be released and we've got to go back. No, I'm really concerned. I've got a kid 11-year-old, who might have to be ordered to go back to school.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, these are scary times and scary things that we have to consider, which is what the whole of this subject's about. Actually, it's about breakthrough. It's about understanding worries, concerns, and how you break through that. And
exactly. So Nick, we have a full house already. People are joining in. Let's give some shout out. We have Janet in the house. Hey, Janet, welcome, welcome, welcome. We have Hazel. Hello, Hazel. Oh, our beloved Barbara Clark is with us in the house. Hey, gang, welcome, welcome to today's live. Guys, please help us in sharing this video with your friends, with your family members. If you belong to certain groups that you feel we can add value to their lives, please share us around, because the more the merrier. And the topics we're talking about, guys, especially today, they are very relevant to what's happening in the world. They're very relevant in terms of helping us all out, understanding what's happening in life and what we get to do to break through the limitations, the fears, the worries, the doubts that all of us sometimes get stuck with. And especially with this pandemic, we are forced to look at things that in the past we didn't have the luxury to look at. And now we actually get to look at them from the eye of breakthrough instead of the eye of fear or doubt. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for sharing. And Nick, let's kick off the session by me actually asking you the most important question. When people hear the word breakthrough, they have a hard time understanding what it means. So if you could help us all in understanding what a breakthrough is, that will be the first place to start with, and then we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of it as we go.
Okay, thanks, Zane, and hi everyone. Thanks for joining today. You know, I've been researching neurology, and I've been running a clinic in London for the past 25 years now. Gosh, I'm getting so old. And one of the things that people bring to me all the time, both people who believe they've got issues or people who are just in a bit of a rut, and I hear the question time and time again: is this what life's about? Is this it? Have I reached the pinnacle of my life on this planet, or at least the life this time around? And by working with hundreds, thousands of people, what I've come to understand is that what people are actually seeking is what I've termed it a breakthrough from where they are. And now if we look into that in depth a little bit more as well, you know, and I mentioned that people are saying to me, is that it? I'm in a rut. Why haven't I got what I want? Why aren't I realizing my dreams? And one of the issues with that is that we are conditioned. We've conditioned ourselves. And I talked a little bit about this last week, but perhaps not in sufficient detail. And effectively, we do the same things day in, day out, year in, year out, decade in, decade out. And then we wonder why we're achieving the same thing time and time around. It's like being in the same job for years. You know, it might be steady. However, at some point, Particularly when you get to about 40, and I'm a long way past that now. It's what have I got to do? How can I do it? Where do I need to go? Why is it that some people have got success very early? And why is it that the majority, we just toddle on, doing what we do, and before we know it, it's a bit too late because we haven't realized our dreams. We haven't done what's on that bucket list.
And Nick, I really appreciate what you just said. Many people, they reach a certain point in life, and a lot of times it's well into their 30s or 40s when they recognize, like, holy crap, I really need to break through in some areas. One thing that I learned the hard way, guys, is breakthrough is not age limited. You can have breakthroughs as young as you want to if you're open to it. Because when I first linked with Nick, guys, I think I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of baggage growing up in a war zone and surviving 3 near-death experiences and migrating to a whole new country by myself. These are all traumatic events that I had to break through. And so when I learned about that concept, I was in my early 20s and mid-20s, actually. And it helped me tremendously. So for any of us here who are watching, who might be either, I hate to use this terminology, but to keep it relevant, too young or too old, please know that breakthrough is not age limited. And Nick, if you could help people understand from all ages how breakthrough works in your life, regardless of the age.
Yeah, good point. Good point, Zane. I've worked with professional sports people as youngsters. I used to run a soccer academy for a professional football club. And so I was working with kids from the age of about 12, 13, 14, 15. And their breakthrough at that point was to become a professional, because only 5% of these guys were going to make it into the professional game. And in fact, I use the same process, no matter how young you are or how old you are. I'm working with a lady, Daphne, and you know Daphne, Zane.
Yeah.
Too. And I'm working on her breakthrough because she does things with her family day in, day out. And she's wondering why she's getting perhaps a negative reaction. This is causing her problems. So it could be a breakthrough is required in just one aspect of your life, or perhaps it's across the whole of your life. And one of the ways that I've learned or taught to do this is, and my breakthrough work started off, and it was always face-to-face, and it was always with a single individual at a time, and it probably takes about 6 to 8 hours. And it can get quite intense and quite emotional, because we've got to peel away those layers, peel away the onion layers, so that we can actually look at perhaps some things that have happened in the past that have created a condition that you now follow day in, day out because you think it's the right way to do things. Now, over the past 3 or 4 years, because I like to work with a lot of people, I run a charity and I do a lot of free stuff. I've designed that on a online basis. So we still do the Q&A, and I still do it with individuals as well as groups. But it's about understanding where you're going to start from. Do you understand where a breakthrough, what a breakthrough is and how it works? And to do that, where I found the best methodology is, whether you're 12-year-old or whether you're 82-year-old, it's undertaking a number of what I call baseline assessments. It's like little self-tests that you take. They only take, there's 3 major tests to do with emotional, relationship, and personality. And because tens of thousands of people have undertook these tests worldwide, we can actually see where you would fit within that particular series of data. And so therefore we baselined what breakthrough actually is for you. And then we move on to putting your side of the story in. What is it that you actually want, and why do you want it?
Mm.
Move through a series of very set, structured stages.
And wow, Nick, I love that we're starting to get into the deep of the breakthrough work, because guys, this work is very personal, and at the same time, it's very liberating. When you understand where you came from and how these events helped shape you, and you start to do breakthrough work so you can release any of the negative attachment you might have given to a certain scenario or a certain life event, then you will be able to integrate that event into your life. Like Nick and his work has enabled me to look at surviving war, surviving death, surviving seeing so much pain at such a young age. He helped me break through in seeing that these events were meant to happen in my life so I can build the strength, the stamina, the courage to face things that many people won't even have the chance to go through, and then be able to use these events to help my brothers and sisters in humanity to break through in their own lives. So Nick, I really would love for you to address this question that I asked you when when we first started working together, and you said, like, Zane, you really need to understand the importance of a breakthrough. So we already covered what a breakthrough is, but at the time I asked you why is it so important to me? Like, why should I look at all of the painful events of my past? I should just probably forget them. So I want people to understand this, because guys, once you understand why breakthrough work is important, you will actually seek discomfort, because you know in the long run it'll serve you and enable you to really live life to the fullest. That's why we called the title of this session Unleashing the Power of Breakthrough for Joy and Success and Abundance. And that's just few things we shared. We could probably write half a paragraph just about things that breakthrough will help you with. So Nick, please help us in understanding, why do we get to use breakthrough work in our life, and how that could shape the events that we went through?
Okay, that's good. And a lot of you might have heard this before, but it's good because I'll reinforce. Before I go on to it, though, it's important to understand that I'm still breaking through in certain areas of my life. It's a continuous process. Once you've undertaken your first set of assessments, you're moving towards different areas to better understand yourself, and you move up different levels in life, from the material onto the spiritual, and then you move and become developed as a particular person. But it's a good point. Why do we need it? And I'll give a I'll give a good example. And I spent 23 years in the military worldwide, and I operated with NATO forces. I was based out in the States, in Utah and in Nevada for quite some time. And what happens is I got conditioned into behaving in a particular way. I used to work hard and I used to party hard at the same time, and this was great. But eventually you wake up and Sunday morning and you're having a coffee and a croissant, and then you sit back on your veranda and you're thinking, well, what's life about? What am I missing? I'm covering off a number of points in my life, but something just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And in fact, I felt as though I was in a rut, and I could see other people around me who'd been in the military for a lot longer, 40 plus years, and they were in a deeper rut than I was. But taking away the military analogy, when we understand is that when we're born, we've got billions and billions of connections in our brain. And this is how we work. This is where we store memories. And we don't actually store the memory per se. What we do is we store the emotion that's attached to that particular memory. Now, if you can imagine, you've got the emotion can be made up of events that have occurred. They can be made up of smells. They can be made up of music. They can be made of a feeling internally. You know, and sometimes you'll know yourself, you'll smell. And I will when I go to my mum's house, and she'll bake some bread, and nothing ever smells like that ever. I've been conditioned, and I've grown a really positive emotional link to my mum's cooking. I just love it. However, at the same time, we've probably got a lot of negative emotions that we attract in particular ways. You know, I was working with a nurse from the NHS, National Health Service over here, and she'd been promoted up to director, but she'd been conditioned to behave in a particular way around medical consultants, around doctors, and this was impacting on her behavior. She had been conditioned to follow their lead without question. And I think when we looked through it and when we broke through what this to her was the one single issue, it was about her having the confidence and getting an ego boost to be able to realize her self-worth and the fact that she'd been promoted to director, that she was the equal of these people. And she'd been promoted up to director. Yeah.
Sorry, Nick. Yeah. I clicked on the wrong button and then it blew up another page where you were speaking. So my apologies.
No problem. So from birth, we're conditioning ourselves and we're setting up a number of what I call psychological filters. And based on our emotions and based on our memories, we delay, we distort, and we generalize things that come into our five senses. So we start to act in a particular way. And even as young as middle school, we start to form our way of doing. We form what we're capable of and what we can probably achieve in life. And therefore, we are reinforcing these particular chemicals within our neurology to give us the life that we want and act in a particular way. So what breakthrough does is gives you that time out to actually consider these issues. And if anyone who's listening to this has got that sort of feeling, you know, is this life about? Is this relationship about? Am I actually getting the most out of my one innings, one life on this particular planet? You know, if you're Buddhist, you probably believe in reincarnation, and that's great. But it's about making the most of this opportunity that you've got at this moment in time.
And Nick, if you could just take probably a couple minutes to really just explain how breakthrough work in specific applies to all areas of life. There is no limitation on what area in life you could use this powerful work with, and maybe even share like what are some of the areas that people don't think that they need to do any work with, but when they start, they really recognize like, wow, this could really shift my life in a very positive way.
You know, Jane, great question. What I get in clinic, people will come to me, and it's probably one of three reasons. But effectively, initially, it all comes down to material things. They haven't got the money to do what it is that they want. And that's what's causing the initial introduction. However, there's probably 6 areas that I consider within a particular breakthrough. And really, if we miss any of these areas out, we're doing ourselves an injustice. Life has everything. And whether you're a spiritual person or not, everything has to be a balance. You know, the yin and the yang, everything has to move out. So you can't just expect to get material wealth and expect to get breakthrough because there's it's an imbalance. You know, the areas that I consider. One, material wealth is one of those things, but we have to consider how you go about getting that particular wealth, and that could be through career. You know, there's also an issue around whether or not you want to be an entrepreneur and how you go about doing that. But then there's the health, the spiritual, the love, and the family areas as well that we have to balance, which is why when you go through the breakthrough sequence, you have to undertake these particular assessments so you can see yourself that actually, compared with tens, hundreds of thousands of people who've actually gone through this, where you stand and where it is that you have to make that breakthrough into for you to achieve what it is that you want. So the initial stage is one, undertaking breakthrough assessment, and as part of this live, I'll give you the link later. One of the assessments, one of the big assessments, is around what I call relationship quotient and emotional quotient. You've probably heard of EQ, but I've added a relationship aspect to that. And there's 4 assessments within that one major assessment, and I'm giving you a link to one of those particular areas called internal awareness. How aware are you internally of who you are and how you respond to others? And you'll get the link later, and that link, please take the test. You can carry out the self-assessment yourself. You can score it yourself. Once you've scored it, you will get put into a particular area of where your score fits against hundreds of thousands of other people, and then an improvement program within that to help you improve that particular area. So if you can imagine, that's just one particular aspect, of internal awareness. There's external awareness, there's maturity, there's other behavior type things which help you to understand why it is you are where you are and what it is that you have achieved. And it's only when we get that particular understanding, and you get an understanding of how your brain works, on how your ancient fight or flight systems work, how your amygdala works. Once you've understand that, it gives you an opportunity to start with and open your mind sufficiently to break out the conditioning just for a little while, to start with a blank sheet of paper and decide what it is that you would want in a perfect world. That is the starting point. Obviously, we'll come back to what I call an ecology check, just to make sure that we keep and maintain that balance again.
And guys, I want to take the time to encourage you to. So I just put a few links for you in the chat. The first link is actually the assessment. So this is like the breakthrough work that me and Nick are discussing. Once you get to the assessment part, it is very in-depth and very detailed. So I highly encourage you to go through that document in specific and go from top to bottom so you can see which area you get to break through in. The second thing I want to encourage you guys to do is, me and Nick, we did a show 2 weeks ago about, because we did mention the amygdala, we did mention the chemicals of the body that come from the brain. We did another show 2 weeks ago, and it's on the page. Just go to Nick's page and you will find that training, because that is like literally the foundation that will help you apply the breakthrough work. And last but not least, guys, Nick's book, the Unstoppable book, is live, and tomorrow only, Nick is doing a major giveaway where everyone who wants the book, they can download it for free. Usually it's $3.99, I believe, for Kindle, but tomorrow, for May 5th, 5/5, talk about making positive change. I love numerology and numbers, and number 5 means positive change is coming. So I'm really glad that Nick is doing on May 5th. giving his book for free. The link is also in the description, guys. So please make sure that you get your book. And guys, if the book is adding value to your life, please spread the word. The work that me and Nick do, we're entrepreneurs. We're by ourselves. We don't have teams. We don't have unlimited budgets. We don't have any of the things that most people think of when you have a production company like what we're doing training and sharing the wisdom. So we need your help and support in spreading the word. So please, guys, go to any of the links in the description and get your hands on Nick's book, get your hands on the assessment. If you really want to take your breakthrough work and your transformation work to the next level, then we even have included a link where me and Nick actually do weekly training with people called Ignite Your Life. So we have multitude of ways to serve you guys, from doing these live shows that are absolutely free and focused on your growth and transformation, to other things where we know we can take you even deeper and make it more personal. So check out this information, and we'll see you guys inside any of these areas. Now, Nick, you mentioned that there are 6 major areas of breakthrough, and you also touched on the concept of baselining. So if you could take a few minutes to explain what baselining is when you are doing some breakthrough work.
Okay. And you probably understand the logic I'm about to explain, guys. If and when you've decided that, what is life about? Why haven't I got what I want out of life? And tell you what, please, if you have got what you want and you're just seeking knowledge, that's fantastic. There's a lot of stuff that you will learn that you probably haven't seen before. Because I've done research going back 5,000 years to how different peoples did particular things. So if it's just research and information you're after, that's good as well. And the actual breakthrough piece, though, is about baselining. By when you're going onto a journey, it's good practice to put a stake in the ground. Where are you going from and where are you going to? If you've got a satellite navigation system in your car or your truck, it'll always start off from where you are and where it is that you want to go. Well, the baselining is about helping you to have a good long think about where is it you actually are. And I don't mean physically sat in your room now, or sat on your deck, or the lucky few of you are sat on a beach somewhere soaking up that fantastic sunshine at this moment in time. It's about where you are against your conditioning, your emotional conditioning, your relationship conditioning, your personality. Why perhaps haven't you got what it is that you want? So the baselining is about a stake in the ground, and that is the very, very first step, so that you can prove to yourself where you are, and then we move on to the next stages from that.
So guys, I can speak from experience that the work that Nick does, it's a work that he applied in the lives of the most successful people in their careers, athletes, pilots, people who have really broke through in major areas of life, but they still had that little area where it kept them from reaching their true potential, and Nick has enabled them to break through that. So I know how powerful this work is. So please, after you watch this training, make sure you go and do the assessment. I put the link in the description so you guys can take the time, set aside maybe 15 to 30 minutes, go through the assessment, know the areas, one of the 6 areas that you get to focus on. And if you feel like there are more than one area that you need to focus on, that's okay. Just focus on one area first, break through in that area, heal it, and then do the work. That's why I love what Nick mentioned, which is this is an ongoing work. Guys, I worked with Nick 7 years ago, but I still work with him to this day. And that's the power of this work. It's ongoing, it's daily, and even when you break through in certain area, let's say the areas that I broke through with Nick back in 2014 and 15 were different than the areas that I am breaking through in right now. But guess what, guys? If I didn't go through the foundational work of like how my past affected my current reality, then I wouldn't be able to break through in my current limitations that I have in life and be able to serve at the highest level of my potential. So Nick, before we conclude this session, I would love for you to share with the community how you seeing the breakthrough work in the life of others so intimately, because you got to work with so many people on one-on-one level, like thousands of people. What are some of the highlights that people could experience when they dive in into this work deeply? And that's why I'm inviting people to do the assessment. Like, what are some of the things that they will experience so people know when they are like doing the work, oh, am I having a breakthrough right now, or what?
You know, that's a great question, Zane. One of the I'll go through several. It's we're all similar beings, and we all got similar needs and wants. I've particularly worked with uh, females who are in a relationship, but it's just not working for them, and they want to know why. They don't want to break up that relationship because they feel as though it's the wrong thing to do. And so what we do is we look at it, we look at that from a number of other aspects, we do what we call an ecology to work out, okay, what will happen if you did this? What would happen if you would do that? So that's one aspect on the relationship side. From an entrepreneurial side, there's a number of people who prefer to check out the material things first. What I insist on, and I know Zane and myself and Jeff have done this in the past, and it's about what's the best way to get an income to support yourself whilst you're actually looking at different areas of your life, and where you can bring in some funds and some money to start giving you that feeling of success as you're moving forward. You know, some of the climaxes of my life, I've worked with I've worked with a female world champion golfer who was uh, a game had dropped off, and we got her back up to world class again. I've worked with a very famous young soccer player who had anger issues, which were the result of his upbringing and his relationship with his dad. That was causing all sorts of issues, and he wanted to specifically to break through in that particular area. I've worked with people with health issues, people who perhaps are really anxious. I'm working at the moment with a lot of first responders on PTSD, anxiety, and stress. And in essence, that is leading to other breakthrough issues. But the immediate issue is the one that you choose, that like these guys are choosing, that they want helping with. Whilst we can work through with that, and as we go through the breakthrough training, we look at blockages and why we do what we do, and how we can how we can help ourselves better. The breakthrough process is very structured, and really, it's if you start leaping from one to number six, you're missing out some big pieces. You know, I was talking to the Ignite Your Life group on Saturday, and a big moment for me, which was part of my learning as a young officer in the military. I was in I was in Downing Street with Margaret Thatcher in 1986. And this guy nudged me on the shoulder, and well, what was that? Because I was on best behavior, trying to be nice. And this guy turned around, and he was a little bit shorter than me. He was a black guy. And he said to me, and his accent was very, I'm even going to his accent now, was very, very strong. And he said to me, he said, "What do you love about your life?" And I thought, that is a weird question to ask someone that you've never met before. And this guy was Nelson Mandela. And he just made me think differently about, that was a breakthrough moment myself, which just occurred in a flash, in an instant. It broke through my conditioning of, hello, how are you? Where do you come from? It was, what do you love? And that was just an amazing, amazing moment. And that's how these breakthroughs can occur.
Wow. And guys, breakthrough work, I do pretty much every day. Every day I reflect, I meditate, I journal. And so one area of a person who got the experience of working with Nick in a very intimate way, get a journal, especially when you're doing this breakthrough work and doing the assessment, because what gets tracked and measured, you can see if it's working or not. And a lot of times people don't give themselves the credit that they deserve because they don't know where they came from. They don't know what their baseline. That's why it is highly important to know where you are and where you want to go to. So when you reach the level of growth that you seek, you see the growth that you've went through. Most people, they don't write about it in journals, they don't track it, so they just keep looking at themselves and thinking that they are the same person. So that's one area I highly encourage you guys to do, is journal and keep track of your growth and your progress. So guys, we've been together for almost 40 minutes. Before we depart, Nick, any wisdom you want to share with the community? Any final thoughts about breakthrough and breakthrough work?
I tell you what, guys, it's there. There's a part assessment there, totally free, along with how you can position, how you are positioned in a particular area, along with an improvement piece, totally free. You do yourselves a disservice if you don't actually take a look. And in addition, after you've done the baselining, the next part of the breakthrough is around understanding neurology and understanding how, and I call it Become Unstoppable. That's my book. It's free tomorrow, guys. Myself, Zane, Jeff, the Igniters, we're all about value. We only take what we need to feed and pay our mortgage. This is totally free. And sometimes we take the risk that if it's free, people don't understand or think it's a value. This is a value. It's to you from me and Zane, and it's to you with love.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate you taking the time to share with us the importance of breakthrough work, how we can do it, how to apply it. So guys, please check out the comments. There are a few links for you to go through. The first link is the assessment. Get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever drink you want. Get a journal and go through the exercise. Remember, tomorrow, Nick's book is absolutely free, available on Amazon. And if you're really hungry and you want it today, you can definitely invest in it. It's a well worth it for every penny you might spend on this. And last but not least, guys, remember, breakthrough works is a daily work. It's not just something you do once and you forget it. So start tracking your work, start tracking your progress. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop some questions or comments on the comment section of this live. So then after the show, we can continuously monitor and see what other areas we might get to help you guys with. So guys, let's all give Nick a huge thank you for joining us today and for gracing us with his presence for the past 40 minutes. And with that, guys, we wish you the best, and we'll see you guys again next week, next Monday. Correct, Nick? You do it every Monday, right?
next Monday, yeah, we'll go into
Hope
another.
you guys again next Monday. Till then, may the rest of your life be the best of your life, and much love to you all. Cheers.
Bye, guys. Thanks, Zane. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.